Urban noise research. The impact of noise pollution is directly related to the acoustic quality of the urban environment, especially in conditions of intensive urbanization and rapid industrial development. The expansion of the transport infrastructure, the increase in building density, and the increase in human flows were gradually replacing the natural soundscapes, changing the overall acoustic profile of a city and affecting the ecological balance. At the same time, the characteristic natural sounds gradually disappear, which is confirmed by the data of archival audio recordings. The consequences of anthropogenic changes in the acoustic environment are reflected in studies of the psychological state of humans. Noise can provoke stress, sleep disorders, decreased auditory sensitivity, and other negative effects. In this sense, the issue of noise pollution is becoming a central element of the urban, environmental, and social agenda. The approach focused on preserving natural acoustic context is justified from an ecological point of view. It takes into account the subjective perception of the listener, minimizing interfacing with the timbre structure and sound texture. Instead of direct modification of a sound, attention is focused on its meaning and role in the perception of the environment. Attempts to solve the problem of noise pollution solely through disable level control do not eliminate the source of a problem. It is more important to rethink the semantic content of noise and its social impact, from the rhythmic hum of cars, reflecting the urban rhythms, and sometimes social tension, to the bell ringing of the town hall clock, recording the passage of time. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Rainer Ray Schaefer conducted extensive field research in Canada and Europe, creating analytical terminology and methodology for describing soundscapes as socially and culturally significant phenomena. A diagram of the sound events recorded over a 24 hours period in rural British Columbia. It demonstrates the distribution of various acoustic phenomena over time and makes it possible to correlate natural and anthropogenic sound sources. The vertical axis shows the time of day starting at midnight, raw noon, and back to midnight. The horizontal axis reflects the sound level in decibels. Different sources are marked with lines of different styles: airplanes, solid frogs, dotted birds, wavy broken line shows the general level of ambient noise. The diagram shows that frogs are most active at night, especially after midnight and before dawn. Birds are active in the morning and by noon, and airplanes create short-term bursts of volume during the day. Additional sound events, such as bell, cows, form local peaks. This visual analysis allows you to observe the daily rhythms of the soundscape, the dynamics of change in the overall noise level, and the distribution of various sources, providing a visual presentation of the interaction of natural and anthropogenic elements in the acoustic environment. The analysis of the sound environment allows us to identify the social, cultural, and ecological rhythms of everyday life, fixing patterns and features of perception of the audio environment. The research focuses on human interaction with the sound around him, which forms the basis of the concept of acoustic ecology and becomes the subject of in-depth study. At the same time, the design and modeling of such environments is actively developing in the field of sound design, where sound is considered not only as an artistic resource, but also as a tool for exploring space and cultural context. For specialists in acoustic ecology, the urban soundscape is not background noise, but an important source of information about social dynamics, cultural practices, and characteristics features on a particular place and time. As Barry Trout notes, the sound environment functions as a form of communication. Nothing is more revealing for researchers of the sound landscapes than observing changes in an acoustically saturated environment over a long period of time. Modern methods of studying urban acoustics include both quantitative and qualitative approaches, from surveys and sound walks to regular monitoring of sound pressures level and sound recording changes in the environment and different points in space. The analysis of this data makes it possible to identify temporal patterns, rhythmic structure, general tonality, and dynamics of changes. Studying the acoustic characteristic of specific location makes it possible not only to describe the surrounding sound environment, but also to form recommendations for its improvement. This opens up new perspective for adapting the urban environment to the needs of residents, creating comfortable and functional sound spaces, as well as for integrating this data into sound design projects and cultural practice. The formation of a soundscape is largely related to the actions of landscape architects and urban designers, who seek to improve the acoustic environment, especially its noise urban areas. This activity is developing in three directions. First, localization of function is planned. Thoughtful placement of zones and objects taking into account their acoustic impact, which minimizes conflicts of sound flows. Second, attention is paid to reducing unwanted noise through architectural and natural solutions. Noise barriers, reservoirs, and special surface materials help mitigate aggressive sound effects. Third, desired acoustic effects are created. Fountains, sound installation, the integration of wildlife, including birds or other natural sounds, form a pleasant and recognizable audio environment. So, as a result, the soundscapes becomes a kind of geography of time, where the rhythms of urban